This is the video for the June 2024 Regents exam, multiple choice, questions 1 through 24. In question number 1, a ball was launched into the air and its height above the ground was recorded each second as shown in the table below. Based on the data, which statement is a valid conclusion? They want to know which statement is true. So 3 of them are false. 1 of them is true. So when we take a look at choice number 4, that's the correct answer. All right. The ball reaches its maximum height at 2 seconds. If you take a look at the flight path of the ball, it starts off at 10 feet. After 1 second, it's at 59 feet. At 2 seconds, it's at 79 feet. And then it's coming back down 3 feet, 3 seconds, it's at 59, 4 seconds, it's back at 11. So it's making this U shape in the air. All right. That U shape in the air at 2 seconds at its highest point, it is at 75 feet. All right. So why wouldn't 1, 2, and 3 work? The ball lands on the ground at 4 seconds. Well, at 4 seconds, it's at 11 feet. So that one wouldn't work. The ball reaches a maximum height of 11 feet. That's not true. That's where it starts off at. It gets higher than that. The ball was launched from a height of 0 feet. Well, at 0 seconds, it's at 11 feet. So none of those make sense. The correct answer is choice number 4. In question number 2, a bus can seat at most, that's the most that it can have, is 48 passengers. Can it have equal to 48? Sure. Can it have less than 48? Yes. But it can't have more than 48. An adult ticket costs $18. A child's ticket costs $12. The bus company must collect at least $650 to make a profit. So 650 is the lowest amount of money that they can take in. They can have more than 650. They can have equal to 650, but they need at least 650. So nothing lower than that. If A represents adult and C represents child, which system can model this equation? So let's take a look at the number of tickets first. Adult plus children has to be less than or equal to 48. This one is wrong because it just says less than. This one is wrong because it just says less than. You can have equal to 48 when it says at most. So 1 and 3 are out of the question. Now, the difference between choices 2 and 4 are the inequality symbol. At least we want the cost, the money taken in from the adult tickets plus the children's tickets to be greater than or equal to 650 because 650 is the lowest that it can be. So therefore, it has to be choice 2. In question number 3, which equation is always true? Well, when you multiply, you add the exponents. All right. So when we take a look at choice number 1, which is the correct answer, all right, x squared times x to the third is x to the fifth. You add the exponents. 2 plus 3 equals 5. I'm not sure what is going on in choice number 3. Choice number 4, we're multiplying the exponents together. You don't do that, you add. Choice number 2, we're multiplying the exponents. We're also multiplying the 3's, which is wrong. All right. So we can't do any of that. Choice number 1 is that correct answer. In question number 4, the first thing that we want to do, the expression that plus that is equivalent to that. Well, in this one, what they really want you to do is to distribute to get negative 2x plus 4x minus 2, and then add it to this other one. So line them up, put your x squareds underneath your x squareds, your x's underneath your x's, your plain numbers underneath your plain numbers, and then just add going down. All right. When you add going down, you get choice number 4. You could have, if you really, really wanted to, typed the original equation, this whole thing, into your y equals, and then did second and table and or graph and found the match. All right. We could have done second and table or second or just graph and find the match. What are you finding the match to? Well, you're finding the match to this equation. You're going to set this whole thing equal to y equals and then find the match. 3 of them won't match. 1 of them will match when you do second and table or graph. In question number 5, which sum is irrational? Irrational are your big, long, ugly decimals. What you want to do is you want to type them each into the calculator and get your four answers. You can see 3.07, blah, 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 8, 40, and 10.5. You want the irrational. Irrational is non-terminating, non-repeating. Well, that's your big, long, ugly decimal, choice number 1. In question number 6, the solution to that equation is what? Well, there's two different ways that you could do it. They really want you to solve it, all right? So they really want you to distribute to get rid of the parentheses, then get rid of the +2 by doing -2 and -2, then get rid of the divided by 3 by doing ×3 and ×3. Then it just becomes a two-step equation. Add by 20, divide by 4, and you get 14. The other way that you could do it is to take your answers, take each of the answers, sub it in for X. All right. So we're subbing it right into here for X and doing a quick check. All right. By checking it, by subbing in that 14, notice we end up with 14 equals 14. Those two sides are the same. So it checks. So that is the answer. If you subbed in any of the other ones, those would not check. In question number 7, on an island, a rare breed of rabbit doubled its population each month for 2 years. What type of function best models the increase in population at the end of 2 years? Well, since you're doubling is growth. It's getting bigger. Therefore, it would not be 2 or 4. Decay is going down. So I could cross off choices 2 and 4 right away. Now I want to know, is it linear growth or is it exponential growth? Linear is adding or subtracting by the same amount each time. Adding it by the same amount if it's growth, subtracting if it's decay. So therefore, I know that it's exponential. Exponential means that you're multiplying by a number each time. In question number 8, what is the degree of the polynomial? The degree is your biggest exponent. That is a 3. All right, right there, that's your 3. So it's a third degree polynomial. In question number 9, the zeros, remember zeros, x-intercepts, solutions, or roots all mean the same thing. Of this equation, all right, type that equation into your y equals. When you type it into your y equals, you get this graph. All right, what are the zeros or roots or solutions? You can see clearly that it crosses at -2 right there, that it crosses at 0 right here, and that it crosses at 5 right here. So 0, 5, and -2. You could also set each one of these equal to 0 and solve. So x equals 0, x minus 5 equals 0, 3x plus 6 equals 0. Solve those equations. Again, you get 0, 5, and -2, the same exact thing. In question number 10, what is the y-intercept of the line that passes through those points? What I would do is I would graph those 2 points first. -1, -5, that's this point right here. 2, -1, over to 2, down to -1, that's that point right there. Connect the dots, all right? Make your line. What is the y-intercept? The y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. Where does it cross the y-axis? Right here at 3. Therefore, that is 3. In question number 11, Nancy has just been hired for her first job. Her company gives her 4 choices for how she can collect her annual salary over the first 8 years of her employment. So T is going to represent the number of years. So T is 8. What we want to do is sub T equals 8 in for all those T's. Which plan would pay Nancy the highest amount of salary in her 8th year? So you want to sub in a 8 for T right there, right there, right there, right there, right there. And you want to see which one is the highest. Well, you see my answers for when I sub them in. 281 is your biggest number there. So therefore, choice number 1 would be the correct answer. In question number 3, the third term in a sequence is 25, and the fifth term is 625. Which number could be the common ratio? The common ratio is what you multiply by each time. Well, if the third term is 25 and the fifth term is 625, we want to figure out what we're multiplying by. Well, 25 times 5 is 125, times 5 again is 625. So that means our common ratio, which is what we're multiplying by each time, is 5. Choice number 2. In number 13, the box plot below summarizes the data for the amount of snowfall during the winter of 2021. What is the interquartile range? You can find your interquartile range by doing your Q3 minus your Q1. Well, first of all, that formula is on your reference sheet. So if you don't know it, that's where you can find it. Your Q1 is the edge of the box, which is 60. Your Q3 is the edge of the box, which is 110. So 110 minus 60 is 50. In question number 14, 4 quadratic functions are represented below. So we have this equation, I graphed it. We have this equation, I graphed it. We have this graph, and we have this table. Which function has the smallest min? The smallest min. Well, when I graph this one, I can see that the min is at -7. When I graph this one, I can see that the min is at -6. This min is at -4. My smallest number, this is clearly a U-shaped graph because it's going, depending on which way you go, it's going down, 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 up, 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 up. So our smallest point, our lowest point is at -5. So we have 7, -6, -5, and -4. Our smallest amount, our most negative number is -7, choice 1. In question number 15, the equation that represents this sequence is what? So what are we doing here? All right, we're starting at -2. So this one's wrong because this doesn't start at -2. This one doesn't start at -2 either. What are we doing each time? Well, to get from -2 to -5 to -8 to -11, we're subtracting by 3 each time. So -3 out in front times the previous term, right? N minus 1. It wouldn't be this one because this one is a +3. That would be adding by 3 each time. We're subtracting by 3. In question number 16, the dot plot shows the number of goals Jessica scored. Which statement about the dot plot is correct? Well, in order to look at this, we need to get some statistics. We're going to type in to our stat edit L1. You're going to type in a 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, and a 6. Then you're going to do stat calc one variable statistics. You're looking for your mean, your median, and your mode. The mean is the X with the little line above it. So your mean is 2.5. I think it's helpful to write in 2.5 anywhere where you see mean. The median shows up as MED. That's also 2.5. The mode is the most often occurring. You can remember that by MOMO, most often occurring number. Our biggest number here is 3 because we have 5 of them. So I wrote in those numbers. Which one is correct? Well, 2.5 is equal to 2.5. Question number 17. The students in Mrs. Smith's algebra class were asked to describe this graph compared to our original one. Here's my original one in the blue. And then I type this into my y equals, and I graphed it. All right. Looking at the picture, I can tell that it is skinnier, or they say narrower. And what happened to my min? My min shifted or translated 3 places to the right. It went from here to here. So it is narrower and shifted 3 to the right, choice 4. In question number 18, one Saturday, Dave took a long bike ride. What was Dave's average rate of change in miles per hour for the trip? The way that you find the rate of change is to do your change divided by your time. How much did it change? Over what period of time? Well, he started off at 0 and he ended up at 55. So the change was 55. That's how many total miles he went. Over what period of time? Well, that happened over 5.5 hours. So 55 divided by 5.5 gives you 10, which is choice 1. In question number 19, which expression is equivalent? Again, just like we had in previous ones, we could do this one of two ways. You could do FOIL here first, all right, first, outers, inners, last, and get this trinomial, all right, and then subtract, or sorry, not this trinomial, but four terms here, all right. I then added together your like terms to make it into a trinomial. That's what I was trying to say. And then subtract the binomial from that. All right. When you subtract the binomial, you change your minus sign to a plus sign, change all the signs in that second polynomial, and then add going down. Notice that I did line them up. Constants under constants, x's under x's, x squareds underneath x squareds, even though I only have one of them. So when you do that, you get choice number 4. Another way that you could do it is you could type this whole thing into your y equals, type in your individual choices into your y equals, and second in table or graph it and find the match. That's a very easy way to do it. Anytime it says equivalent, that's a good strategy. In question number 20, the functions f of x and g of x are graphed. Great. F of x looks like f of x is a quadrilateral. It's a U-shaped graph, and g of x is a line. What is the solution? Now, solution means your x values. That's one of the things that you need to remember is that solution means your x values to the equation. So at what x values are they equal? At what x values do they intercept? They intercept right here at 1 and right here at x equals 5. In question number 21, when babysitting, Nicole charges an hourly rate and an additional charge for gas. So some number of dollars per hour plus the gas. So she uses this equation, 6h plus 5. The constant term, constant means your plain number. So the constant is this plus 5. What does that mean? Well, that is the additional charge for gas because it's plus $5. She charges $6 per hour plus the $5 one-time fee for gas. This one is hard. When solved for x, so x equals in terms of a, the solution to the equation is what? So we want to get x all by itself. Now, the trickiest part of this one, in my personal opinion, is normally when you're trying to solve for x, you get rid of everything besides the x first because you're trying to get that x all by itself. What you actually want to do on this one, which is weird, is this first step, all right? We actually want to do minus ax and minus ax. Now, you can't subtract 3x minus ax. We just leave it like that. But we want to try and get all of our x's onto one side first. That's why we're doing that. Then get rid of the minus 7 by doing plus 7 and plus 7. 5 plus 7 is 12. Now, here's the other tricky part. On the same side of the equal sign, we have a 3x minus ax. What I can actually do there is factor out the greatest common factor of x. I can take out an x from each term. So I'm going to take out the x. That's my greatest common factor. What goes inside is 3 minus a, because if I would actually distribute and distribute there, then I'd get my 3x minus ax. Divide by, now I want to get the x all by itself. I have x times that whole thing. So the opposite of times is divide. So I'm going to divide by 3 minus a and divide by 3 minus a, and I get that answer. In question number 23, we want miles per hour. What you want to do with these questions is cancel out the numerator with another denominator in another term there. So I can cancel out inch or meters and meters. I can cancel out meters and meters. I can cancel out seconds and seconds. I can cancel out seconds and seconds. So then we want to multiply top times top, bottom times bottom, and see what our labels would be. We want miles on the top and hours on the bottom. So in choice number 3, meters canceled out, seconds canceled out. All that I'm left with is miles on the top, hours on the bottom, and that's my answer. In question number 24, which function has a domain? Domain are your x values of all real, so it goes forever in both directions, left and right, and a range greater than or equal to 3. Well, I would take and I would graph all of them. When you graph number 2 here, you can clearly see that your lowest point, your min, is at 3. So our y values go from 3 on up, or all the numbers that are greater than or equal to 3. That was your multiple choice.